Or rather, let's take you back to Pretoria, where the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry is considering an application by several media houses for upcoming witness testimony to be heard in public. This follows a request by evidence leaders for the same testimony to take place behind closed doors. They argue it involves sensitive details linked to covert police operations that cannot be disclosed. Commissioners are expected to deliver their decision later today. Iman joining us live from the Bridget Mabandla Justice College with more here. Iman, it is a special request being put forward here ultimately by these media houses and the question marks of safety and security being the key proponent that has to be discussed.
So it's fortuitous then, Arabella, that we have Jeremy Michaels with us, the Commission spokesperson, to give us an update on proceedings today. Jeremy's still furiously typing away on his iPad, because you are the comms person, so everyone's looking to you for details on what's going to happen. So let's start with the obvious question. Will the Commission sit today?
Good morning, Iman. So firstly, let me say as a reminder that yesterday the evidence leaders informed the judge that there was opposition to their application for an in-camera hearing. And of course, that opposition came from Daily Maverick and News 24, who were arguing transparency. Their legal representative, of course, was also before Justice Madlanga yesterday. The two legal teams were then in communication through the course of yesterday into last night, and I've just been informed that they have agreed that the witness will testify remotely from another location, and that the testimony will be transmitted and broadcast via audio only, and of course that audio will be muffled. In other words, it will be distorted to disguise the voice of the witness. And also, they've agreed that the material over the next 2 days, that applies to the next 2 days, the material that the witness will be testifying on will be made public in due course. So that applies to today, Tuesday, and tomorrow, Wednesday. But so Advocate Matthew Chaskelson, SC, the evidence leader, the chief evidence leader, will inform Justice Madlanga this morning also that the evidence leaders will insist on an in-camera hearing for Thursday and Friday. And that hasn't been agreed with the opposing application. So that's where it stands.
All right, so we've just heard this now. This is new, that the Commission goes ahead today, audio stream, disguised voice, but that testimony will go ahead. It's made available to the public. The transcripts as well will be made available to the public. One of the things, well, the other one is whether there has been a third media house that has also now made this application for these proceedings to be held in open forum.
Yes, we had contact from independent newspapers or IOL yesterday, but as far as I'm aware, they haven't submitted a formal application to oppose, and so, yeah, that's what we know on that score. But I should add that this agreement that has been reached between the Commission's evidence team, the legal team, and the opposing party, Daily Maverick and News 24, who of course are represented by the same legal firm, that still has to be approved by Justice Madlanga and his co-commissioners this morning.
So this shouldn't be interpreted as a win on the part of that application. That application is still being considered, and a decision will be then communicated to the public in regard to that. But the Commission's work will continue nonetheless. Yeah,
of course, I don't want to speculate, and I can't preempt what Justice Madlanga will say, except to reflect on his commitment to transparency. As he said right at the outset on the 28th of July, when we had that first media briefing, he made clear that in-camera hearings would be an exception and they would be dealt with on a case-by-case basis. So, of course, given what we saw yesterday and the agreement between the two legal teams now, that will be considered at 9:30 when we resume, and we'll have to hear what the judge and co-commissioners say.
All right, so a decision then on that application will be heard this morning at 9:30. So I guess, our viewers have heard it here first, that this is the latest with regard to the Commission's work. One of the concerns is the delays, Jeremy. Every time there's an application, will the Commission be delayed? As we saw yesterday, we barely sat down for 15 minutes. That application was put through, which Advocate Chaskelson shared with the Commission, and proceedings were off for the rest of the day. We can scarcely afford delays, right? But at the same time, we have to pursue the public's right to know in the fashion in which the media houses have put forward.
Yes, Iman, and I think it's very important to say that the terms of reference provide for these in-camera hearings precisely because of considerations particularly related to the safety of witnesses. And that is the primary argument that the evidence leaders have put forward, and that is why these measures are being put in place. At least, that is what they've agreed for the next 2 days. And in the application that they submitted, which we released publicly early yesterday afternoon, the evidence leaders set out quite a lengthy motivation for why they deemed it necessary for the hearing to be in camera. So again, it's not a position that is taken lightly. It's out of necessity primarily to protect the identity of witnesses, but also as it relates to ongoing investigations, investigative methods, and so on.
We'll get back to the investigation part in just a moment. I just want to quickly ask about the logistics of it all. So will everyone still be here, the evidence leaders, the judge, and his adjudicators, but that testimony will be in a way beamed into the Bridget Mabandla Justice College?
Yes, absolutely, that's correct. So everyone will be gathered here as usual, except for the witness.
Talking about investigations, Jeremy, the big concern we have is, where is Dumisani Khumalo? Is he in hospital? Has he been in hospital since the morning when he took ill before his testimony here at the Commission of Inquiry? What is his status and what's the latest in the investigation?
So, of course, I'm aware that there's a lot of speculation. What I can tell you is that there is an investigation underway which started on the 1st of October when he fell ill here at the Commission that morning. And of course, proceedings were then adjourned. So there is an investigation underway into the cause and the nature of his illness. But at this point, I can't say any more than that.
I guess it's something to pick up then with the police authorities. Jeremy, thank you for the update. Alfred, I know I've sort of cold-shouldered you in a way in our discussion.
Absolutely
today,
happy for that.
The modalities are really important. What do you make of this, as you see it with an insider's lens?
Well, actually, the irony about it for me is less a concern about delay, because I think this particular way of providing testimony actually expedites things, because it allows somebody to speak without fear and recrimination. Yes, they still have to be measured in what they say, but allows a deep dive a lot quicker than the cautionary tale of going through written affidavits, being too concerned. So this is somebody who can speak freely, understanding that they're doing so anonymously, and it actually expedites the work of the Commission. We would hope then that the Commission doesn't get involved in the granular details about case management and all that, but understand how each of this impacts on what the central accusation here is as that the institutions in the criminal justice system has been compromised, that there's been executive overreach, and this is not about 120-odd case dockets and all those kind of things, but it's about how the institutions themselves are working, how they're being led, how decisions are made, and whether due process has been followed.
I'm so glad you foregrounded that, because these are themes we're going to unpick in the 8 o'clock hour, and also correlating to the testimony we're hearing in the ad hoc committee. Jeremy, before I let you go and before we end our interview for this leg anyway, when we talk about the person who's going to give testimony today, are we able to say where they come from? I know we are very cautious about their identity, but are they police? Are they of the accused? Well, you know, names that have been mentioned. What detail can you give us on who is testifying at the commission today?
So just as a reminder again that in this phase, the allegations made by Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi are being substantiated or corroborated. So this witness, that evidence is related to that. I can't say more than that for the moment. But also just very quickly, yesterday there was some discussion about whether the witness will, whether the audio will be muffled or distorted, or whether, as a further measure to protect the identity of the witness, whether the witness will speak through what shall we call it?
An intermediary.
An intermediary, thanks, yes. So,
Are you getting Samuel L. Jackson, or who are you getting to do this?
Well, look, we've had, you know, the stuff of Hollywood movie script certainly.
Absolutely.
It's not a matter to make light of, because lives are in danger, reputations are in danger, and the public's right to know is paramount in these proceedings. Jeremy, thank you for updating us. We appreciate that. Aldred, you and I will continue to talk a little bit later on. On that note, more analysis with Aldred.